We have reached December 18th, 2025. Only one single rotation of the Earth remains. That is all that stands between us and the absolute moment of truth. If you're listening to this right now, you're likely feeling that same heavy tension that has taken hold of the entire astronomical community. The final countdown is not just approaching, it is here. In exactly 24 hours, tomorrow night on December 19th, the interstellar visitor known as 3I Atlas will reach its closest proximity to our world. For months, the official line has been to ignore it. They insisted it was nothing but a rock, a dirty snowball, a fragmented remnant of a dead solar system drifting through the void. But today, that narrative has completely shattered. Today, the data has come in, and it is screaming something that nobody predicted. Welcome back. Before we tear into the new intelligence that has just flooded the servers, intelligence that rewrites every assumption we held about this object, make sure you are subscribed and have your notifications active. The next day is going to be the most critical period in modern history. You need to be present for every single update. Let's break down exactly what has just occurred. A fresh preprint paper has just surfaced on the arXiv server, bearing the title, The Anti-Tail of 3I Atlas, Wobbled Before Perihelion. I know what you're thinking. Anti-tail sounds like something out of a science fiction novel. In standard astronomy, it is a documented phenomenon, typically an optical illusion. It is usually a trick of perspective where a comet's tail seems to point toward the Sun rather than away from it, caused simply by the Earth crossing the comet's orbital plane. It is rare, but it is natural. However, this is not an illusion. The new data, passed by an independent research team and backed up by ground-based telemetry, indicates that the anti-tail of 3I Atlas is not a trick of the light. It is a physical, tangible structure, and it is absolutely massive. According to the most recent measurements, this feature spans a void larger than the distance separating our planet from the Moon. Think about the scale of that. A trail of material, or something else, stretching out for over 400,000 kilometers. But the sheer size isn't the smoking gun here. The smoking gun is the movement. Comet tails are passive features. They are composed of dust and gas that get bullied by solar wind and radiation pressure. They drift. They flow. They do not wobble. The paper documents a distinct series of oscillations detected in this anti-tail just moments before the object hit perihelion, its closest point to the Sun. These were not the random fluctuations of a melting rock. They were rhythmic, precise, and terrifyingly mechanical. Picture a ship moving through the ocean, its wake trails behind it. If that ship turns, the wake curves. If the ship corrects its course repeatedly, the wake wobbles. The data reveals an oscillation frequency that aligns with no known natural outgassing process. If this was simply a vent of gas erupting from the surface, the motion would be chaotic, or it would rotate in sync with the object. But 3I Atlas is not rotating in a way that accounts for this. The wobble is entirely independent of the object's spin. Dr. Avilob has just issued a commentary on this anomaly, and his words are currently being forwarded across every encrypted channel in the scientific world. He notes that a wobble of this magnitude involving this much mass necessitates a transfer of momentum. To put it in plain English, something pushed back. If you're trying to stabilize a craft, or even a rock if you want to cling to the official story, against the massive gravitational pull of the Sun, you have to make adjustments. You fire thrusters, you shift your weight, you create a wobble in your wake, and there is more. The density of this anti-tail is all wrong. Spectroscopic analysis is returning readings that are breaking the models. We are detecting absorption lines that have no business being there. This isn't just water, ice, and silicate dust. We are seeing heavy elements, complex signature patterns. There are whispers in the community that it looks less like a tail and more like an exhaust plume, or perhaps a magnetic containment field. We are staring at an object that is actively correcting its path. An object trailing a structure larger than the lunar distance. An object that is one single day away from our doorstep. Yet, the mainstream media is chatting about a beautiful celestial event. They are telling you to dust off your binoculars. They are conspicuously not telling you that the tail is vibrating. Why? Maybe they don't know how to explain it. Or maybe, just maybe, they do. We are seeing a distinct pattern here. First, the sudden silence from the Maven orbiter, then the unexplained dimming of the object as it swept past Mars, and now this. A controlled oscillation in a structure that defies standard physics. The closer it gets, the less it resembles a comet and the more it resembles a probe. We are forced to ask the question, if this is a machine, what is its function? Is it braking? Is it scanning? Or is it simply stabilizing itself for the flyby? The wobble happened exactly before perihelion. That is the point of maximum gravitational stress. That is the precise moment you would need to be most careful if you were navigating a gravity well. And now it is coasting toward us. The latest trajectory models, the ones they are not flashing on the evening news, show a slight deviation, a tiny, almost invisible shift in its orbit that happened exactly when the wobble was detected. It changed lanes. We are tracking it. We are watching it. But the course correction is only the beginning. What I'm about to tell you next makes that look like a footnote. We discussed the anti-tail, but we haven't discussed its composition. The latest spectral analysis from the deep field arrays in Chile has just arrived, and it is impossible. Avi Loeb just published a fresh analysis that puts the sheer scale of this thing into perspective. He calculated the physical dimensions of this anti-tail structure. It is not merely a tail, it is a bridge. It extends for over 400,000 kilometers. Let that reality sink in. That is a structure, coherent, organized, and wobbling, that could bridge the gap between our world and our satellite. And it is tethered to an object that is supposedly only a few hundred meters across. The math does not add up. The mass ratio is broken unless the tail isn't mass, unless the tail is energy. And here is the kicker. This structure is interacting with the solar wind in a way that violates fluid dynamics. Normal cometary tails are passive. They get blown back by the sun's particles like smoke in a gale. They are messy. They are turbulent. They disperse. This tail? It is cutting through the solar wind. It is maintaining its structural integrity against the stream of charged particles blasting from the sun. It is coherent. That implies one thing: magnetic containment. If you possess a magnetic field strong enough to shield a structure of that magnitude from the solar wind, you do not have a rock. You have a generator, you have an engine, and this engine is parking itself on our front lawn. Science Alert just confirmed the timeline. December 9th. Tomorrow. That is the date of the closest approach. They are calling it a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They are telling you to hunt for a faint fuzzy patch in the constellation of Lepus. But they are omitting the most crucial detail. The object is dimming again. Think about the physics. As an object approaches Earth, it should be getting brighter. Sunlight reflects off the ice. It should be flaring. It should be visible to the naked eye by now. But 3i Atlas is doing the exact opposite. It is going dark. The magnitude is plummeting. It is fading into the background stars. It is almost as if it knows it is being observed. It is engaging a cloak. Or perhaps it is simply absorbing the energy we are trying to shine on it. Why would an interstellar object want to hide right before it passes the only inhabited planet in the system? And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle for today, the signal, or rather, the absence of one. We have been listening for radio waves. We have been listening for pings. The SETI Institute has pointed the Allen Telescope Array directly at it. The Green Bank Telescope is listening. But what if we are listening for the wrong thing? What if the signal isn't a beep, but a shadow? I am going to describe the light curve data that has been leaked from the Amateur Astronomer Network. It reveals a pattern that looks suspiciously like binary code hidden in the dimming events. You need to visualize this graph. December 19th is coming. Do not look away. We are looking at the smoking gun, the definitive evidence that 3i Atlas is not just a rock tumbling through the dark. Listen closely. This is the photometric light curve of the object over the last 24 hours. For those of you who aren't astronomers, let me explain what you're seeing. A light curve is a graph of brightness over time. For a normal comet, a dirty snowball as NASA likes to call them, this line should be messy. It should be jagged, random, noisy. Comets rotate. They tumble. They have uneven surfaces. The light reflects off ice, then rock, then ice again. It is chaotic. But look at this line. It is flat, perfectly flat, and then drop. Flat, drop, flat, drop. These aren't random fluctuations. These are pulses. The object is dimming by exactly 0.4 magnitudes every 144 minutes, regular as a clock, precise as a metronome. Nature does not make straight lines. Nature does not keep time to the millisecond. We are witnessing a strobe effect, but it is not flashing light at us. It is blocking light from us. It is an inverse signal. And here is where it connects to the paper we discussed earlier, the one about the wobbling tail. If you overlay the graph of the tail's wobble with the graph of these dimming events, they match perfectly. When the tail swings left, the object dims. When the tail swings right, the object returns to baseline. This is not a tumble. This is a mechanism. Think about the physics required. A structure larger than the lunar distance is swinging back and forth in perfect sync with the rotation of the main body. That requires a rigid connection. That requires structural integrity that ice and dust simply do not possess. If you tried to swing a cloud of dust that size back and forth, it would dissipate, it would tear itself apart, but this structure is holding together. So what are we looking at? We are looking at a massive stabilized structure that is orienting itself, and it is orienting itself relative to us. The Science Alert report that just dropped confirms that 3i Atlas is currently moving through the constellation of Lepus, the Hare. It is just south of Orion. They tell you it is faint. They tell you it is hard to see, but they don't tell you why. It is hard to see because it is absorbing 90% of the light that hits it. The albedo, the reflectivity, is anomalously low. A fresh comet spewing fresh ice should be bright. It should be like a mirror. This thing is like Vantablack. Why would you build a probe that absorbs light? 2 reasons: stealth or power collection. If that tail is actually a collector, a solar sail, or a magnetic scoop, it would appear dark because it is harvesting the energy, not reflecting it. And now, as it nears the point of closest approach tomorrow night, it is fully deployed. We are 24 hours away from the point of maximum efficiency, the moment where the sun is at its back and Earth is directly in its path. If you were going to transmit a massive packet of data back home, or if you were going to scan a target planet with high-resolution sensors, this is exactly how you would configure your ship. You would stabilize it, you would deploy your collectors, you would dampen your thermal signature, and you would wait for the alignment. The alignment happens in 24 hours, and there is one more thing, a detail buried in the appendix of the new arXiv paper. The wobble isn't constant, it is accelerating, the frequency is increasing, the heartbeat is getting faster. Whatever this machine is doing, it is spinning up. It is preparing for something. It is pointing at something else. The most terrifying part is yet to come. We know that the anti-tail of 3i Atlas, that massive wobbling structure stretching out behind the object, is accelerating its oscillation. It is spinning up. But the question remains, what is it pointing at? If this were a comet, the tail would point away from the sun. That is the law of physics. The solar wind pushes the gas and dust outward. It is simple, it is predictable, but 3i Atlas is breaking the law. The latest astrometric data, triangulated from observatories in Australia and South Africa, shows that the anti-tail is not aligned with the solar wind vector. It is off by 12 degrees. 12 degrees might not sound like much, but in celestial mechanics it is everything. It means the tail is not being pushed, it is being aimed. So, we traced the line, we followed the vector of that massive 400,000 kilometre structure out into the deep black. We wanted to see where it led. It points directly at the Galactic Center, Sagittarius A star, the heart of the Milky Way, the same direction it came from. Think about the implications. You have an object that enters our system, performs a gravity assist around our star, stabilizes itself, deploys a massive structure that defies the solar wind, and then locks that structure onto its point of origin. It is not a tail, it is an antenna, a high-gain transmission array. And the wobble, the oscillation we detected, that is the modulation. That is the signal being encoded into the carrier wave. We are witnessing a data dump right now as it passes Earth. 3i Atlas is beaming everything it has learned back home. It is uploading the scan data it is reporting on us. And this brings us to the most chilling realization of all, the timing. Why December 19th? Why is the closest approach so important? Because on December 19th, Earth passes directly between 3i Atlas and the Sun. For a brief window of time, we will be in its shadow, or rather, it will be in ours. This is the moment of maximum signal clarity, the moment when the solar interference is blocked by our own planet, creating a quiet zone for the receiver. Or perhaps it is using our planet's gravity to lens the signal. boosting its power for the long journey back to the core. We are not just observers in this event. We are a component of the transmission. We are the lens. The scientists at Science Alert are calling this a close approach. They are excited about the proximity. They are telling you to watch the skies because it will be beautiful. But they are missing the bigger picture. This isn't a flyby. This is a handshake. We are being indexed. We are being catalogued. And in 24 hours the file will be sent. So ask yourself what happens when the upload completes. When the mission clock hits 0, does the probe go dormant? Does it self-destruct? Or does it execute a new command? There is one final anomaly I have kept from you until this very moment, a detail buried deep in the raw data logs of the Deep Space Network. We detected a series of pings starting just 3 hours ago, but they aren't coming from the comet. They are coming to it. Something out there is answering. The final countdown has begun, and we are standing on the precipice. Tomorrow night, December 19th, 3i Atlas will be at its closest point to our planet, a mere 270 million kilometers away. In cosmic terms, that is a whisper's distance. The question is no longer, what is it? The question is, are you ready for what comes next?